Sometimes strange things happen. Sometimes unbelievable and remarkable things occur that we simply cannot fathom, and sometimes, if it gets enough attention, people go way out on a limb as theories range from probable to impossible. When we see these things, these mysteries, they need to be deduced. Welcome to a very special presentation of Deduced, the series where I take on a big question, try and find an answer to it. Not saying I'm right, just that I try to find the answer. As you can probably tell, this is going to be the one for Independence Day in the United States of America. There are so many people that just take it for granted. There's some who even don't like what we try and tell them should happen. There's some that think that we're just full of it. But what is the real cause behind America? What is the American dream? What can be made better? Well, I'm going to try and find out, so grab your fireworks, sit back, relax, and let's get started. So it works. When we talk about the history of America, we have to go clear back into the 17th century, that's the 1600s, to find the original colonizations. Of course, there's those colonies that just plain disappeared. There's the one that was permanent. There are those that came over because of religious persecution, and those that came over because they wanted to find a way to live out the life the way they wanted it. Now, here's the catch. All those people that first came over here still consider themselves British subjects. But were they? And what was it that finally led to the big revolt? The actual revolution began when King George decided to put a pretty unfair tax on the American colonies. At that time, there were only a few colonists who had been born in Britain and not in America. So the revolution began when some British soldiers opened fire on some unarmed civilians in Boston. Some more civilians dressed up as Native Americans and threw a lot of tea in Boston Harbor. And then there was the Battle of Lexington. And that's when the war really started. That was in 1775, and from there clear up to 1783, there were a number of decisions that were made that really changed the way war was fought, as America proved that the mightiest military in the world could be easily defeated. The whole act of war was changed, and then came the document that started it all. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to separate from another, that's sort of how it begins. Nobody really talks the way that it's written anymore. It's a little sad, but the principles in the Declaration itself are still the same. It wasn't about how they were going to make it happen. It was the reason why. And mainly the reason why was because they didn't feel like it was fair to have somebody say that they had to pay tax on tea or stamps or anything else when nobody else was doing it. They felt singled out, and they were mad, and they had a right to be. So, yeah, the war officially started in 1775 in Lexington when, well, somebody fired a gun. Nobody saw who it was. And many, many great and terrible things happened during that time until 1783, when the war was won because it had to be won. After all, these guys were committing treason in what they were doing, and they didn't want to hang for it, so they had to win it. In the beginning, after America won its independence, they didn't exactly know what to do. They're a brand new nation. They had all sorts of troubles that they needed to figure out. There was a thought that they should do their own monarchy for a little bit, but the only one that they could think of to be the first king was George Washington, and he didn't want the job. As each of the states were struggling, and each of the states were trying to find a way to outdo its neighboring states, it was pretty obvious the Articles of Confederation weren't going to work, that they needed a new beginning. They needed something strong, something that would make the nation great. When it was obvious that the Articles of Confederation weren't going to work out, they had two choices. Either just completely lose a union or form a new constitution. So that's what they did in Philadelphia in 1789. The people that were there, they didn't exactly agree on everything, and that's putting it mildly. They had many states that were arguing for certain things and some that were arguing for other things. And then it came out. The whole thing was hammered out right there, where the government was divided into three branches, each equal, each having checks and balances against each other, and each one a vital part of a nation. The first part is the legislative branch. We call that Congress. And that's divided into two houses, the House of Representatives and the Senate. Now, the reason for that is because they wanted to make sure that every state had an equal voice. And the only way that they could do that is by one house being based on a state's population and the other house just having two elected officials in it. They are the ones that make the bills that become laws, and they send it up to the executive branch. We call that the president and his administration. Now, I know that nowadays the president seems to have all the stuff going for him, but in the Constitution, it's pretty obvious that his job was to sign the bill into law and to enforce the laws. Then there's the judicial branch, the only one where it's not really elected, but the people there, they're the ones that make sure that the laws are followed according to what they interpret it as. The Constitution also verifies that there's only one truly national crime, and that's treason, which is giving aid to the nation's independence or giving them comfort. But it was after this part was signed and that it was sent out to everybody who was going to take a part in it that they realized that there was something wrong. Sure, they did say in the end of the main body that those things that were not specifically assigned to the federal government were all parts to the states, but they needed something more because a lot of the states weren't wanting to ratify it, not unless certain individual rights were guaranteed. And this is where the Bill of Rights comes in, my favorite part. Now, there is one that really doesn't have any bearing on today's society, the quartering of soldiers, but the rest of them, they're kind of important. I won't go into detail about all the things that are stated because it's quite lengthy, except to say that it's worth the read and it's worth the understanding. But the rights that are guaranteed to individuals include the right to have and to express your own opinions and beliefs, so long as they don't threaten or intrude other rights or aren't attacked. And the right to not only express them, but, this is implicit, the right to hear other people's opinions and beliefs and to incorporate it into your own or not. It includes the right to defend those rights however you see fit. And it includes also the rights of people accused of a crime to not be thrown in jail unless it can be proven beyond a doubt. It also protects against just randomly showing up and searching a place because it's convenient. And it also states that if a person is on trial, it has to be in front of 12 people if it's a criminal case. It has to be glossed over by a judge, and that the person who is accused doesn't have to say anything if they feel that it would cast a bad light on them. The amendments to the Constitution do include some things that corrected a big oversight, most notably the Emancipation Proclamation. And they also allowed for some other things to come into play that we deal with today. I'll let you look after. And it is really a remarkable thing how
now that's just a little bit about
the beginning of what it's called
the one
America.
that forged the nation.
But here's the real thing.
Is it worth it?
Being both
The answer,
loved and
at least for
hated
me,
at
is
the
yes.
same time. The idea that any one of us
But that's for
can learn
another video.
anything we want to, and that we can really think about and consider what we want to have happen, is something that's remarkable, something that is not often heard in other places. True, it's not perfect. I think it's, well, I don't remember where it was said that perfection really isn't attainable in this life, but it's always worth being strived for. But the solution is that we keep working for it. We keep thinking about things and wondering if what we're being told is right, or if it's just somebody putting an idea in our head, or if we can even be called civilized if we keep on threatening each other. Personally, I don't have a problem with anyone who wants to share their opinion. I think that's what the whole idea is about. But the problem is when they try and force their opinion on me. When they try and say that, oh, because... Well, I can't think of anything right now, but anyway, it's because I support, let's say, the Republican Party, I'm automatically racist. Or if I say certain things, then that means something that I don't even mean for it to say. Anyway, I think you get my point that we can't let others dictate what we should think and what we should believe. That's not what this country is about. We do that, we might as well tie ourselves up and go somewhere else. But if we believe that we have the right to have our own beliefs and our own opinions, that is what is central
So that's
to
it.
America.
I do hope that this little video is giving you a bit of a patriotic move, and that's what my intention. You might know it's been a little late, and that's because, well, I've done holiday videos before, so yeah, just another one. As usual, give the video a thumbs up. Check out the description right around there, I think. Give it a comment. There's the subscribe button. Be glad if you did that. Video there. And over that way is my social media. So, have a very safe and happy 4th of July, and we'll see you all next time.